Hi everyone, Bernard here, hope you're all well. The latest Citizen vlog, and this is another Moments in Time. And it's it's a good game, this one. It's the second time I went to Wembley, but the first time I actually saw City win, which was nice. Obviously I've seen it happen quite a few times over recent years, but not so much then. Yeah, we're going to look at obviously the back in time to the 28th of February 1976, the League Cup final against, it was just called the League Cup then, it wasn't sponsored or anything like that, against Newcastle United. Really good day, so please go and have a look at that today. A couple of questions as well, a little bit of fun, see what you remember about certain things. If you're young, you won't have known it, you might have learned these things over the years anyway, but please, if you're new to the Citizen channel, please push the old subscribe button there, push the bell notifications so you know when these little vlogs and specials are coming out, and please make sure they're set to public so that you get the notifications. Some people have set them to private, you're not going to get any notifications then anyway. So please, hope you enjoy this. Any comments, just let me know. Yeah, I mean, it was I went to the 74 final, which is covered in another Moments in Time thing, and I went, but this was the first time I went by train, and I think it's the first time I'd actually been on a train to London. I don't think I'd actually travelled by train to London before this one. I went on the football special, and I sort of went with a Newcastle ticket. I only had a ticket for the Newcastle end. I didn't have a ticket, in those days, these like gold dust, these tickets, and I ended up with a ticket for the Newcastle end. So, but quite quickly at Euston Station, I'd swapped it very quickly because it was on my mind. It was playing on my mind. I was only 1976. So I was only 16. Obviously. When I went down to Wembley with a few friends, so I swapped that, and even though I couldn't get in the same block as my friends, obviously I did at least get in the City end, which was great, but that led to problems later on, but I'll tell you about that anyway when in a few moments. Yeah, so that was my first time I went on the train. Yeah, it was interesting because we didn't go on the tube, but they laid a special train on from Euston for the fans, and it's mainly City fans from what I remember on the train. And then coming up, obviously Wembley, I sort of mixed up with a lot of Newcastle fans for some reason. I don't know what happened there. I got have a habit of getting sort of splitting up from my mates, and I lost my mates and ended up with loads of Newcastle fans, and sort of walking up on my own. I felt a bit iffy. I mean, I did have my colours on, obviously I had a scarf on, etc. It was okay. It was, just a bit intimidating. I found the Newcastle fans, and I've been to Newcastle 2 or 3 times, not the friendliest places in the 70s and the 80s, so. But it was okay, not too bad. I got there. I got up to the ground anyway. So yeah, that was my first. I'll tell you what happened after the game. That was even worse. I mean, I had even more problems. I did arrange to meet my friends after the game, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, I mean, is that when was the last time? There's a little question for you. When was it before this 1976 final? When was the last time City had played Newcastle in a cup final? It wasn't a League Cup final, but because Newcastle hadn't been in one before. But do you know what year that was? City last played Newcastle in a cup final at Wembley. It wasn't that long before, actually, if you think about it. From 1976, think back. Yeah, so looking at the programme, looking at the things, I mean, you always have a royal guest, don't you? And we had Earl Marshal Major General His Grace the Duke of Norfolk. I have no idea who this guy was. So I mean, I'm sure the players must have been totally impressed being presented to this guy. When you sort of used to getting the Queen or Princess Anne or Prince Charles or something, aren't you? But that was a bit disappointing. And the programme was only very thin. I mean, what was it? It was 20p. So only 20p. Is it? It's about 12 quid or something. So it's only like 24 pages, so it's not very thick. Obviously, you've got the old cigarette adverts on the back there as well. But the first half of the programme is mainly City stuff, so you get all the City stuff, and it's obviously talk about Tony Buck, because obviously Tony Buck had obviously won the League Cup as a player, and obviously he had the chance, and he was a manager of City for this game, of winning it as a manager as well. So that would have been quite an achievement. There's not that many that have done it. I mean, I think there's 1 or 2, but not that many. And during that season, Tony Buck had let a really big player go, a really flamboyant, big name City player go that season, 75-76 season. If you just can you remember who it was who'd let go that season? Again, he's a player I've touched upon on many things, but have a think on that one. I'll let you know after who it was. And of course, you've got the squad there in the in the programme, all the City squad for the thing. I've just covered one up there because I'm going to try and ask you if you recognise him. There's the squad, some great images there, the City players. Just get you a closer look at this guy now, see if you can recognise who that is. You recognise that? It took me a moment because it's not his normal look. He's a bit younger there, a bit younger faced. Just name who's that? Who's that guy there? I'll tell you why it's significant after, obviously. But yeah, I had to double take that one to find out who it was. Of course, we beat Middlesbrough in the second leg of the League Cup, didn't we? I think it was 4-0 at Main Road. So some great action pictures there from Main Road in the middle. And getting his first cup goal for us that night. Do you remember? Didn't you recognise this guy? He got his first cup goal for City. I think it was his first game as well, first cup game for City. We had a few injuries, so he sort of stepped in. One of the youngsters stepped in. Do you know who that was? So the lineups, obviously the actual lineups for the game were actually as per the programme. So if you actually look at the two teams they're actually as per the programme. There was no extra time for this. There's no extra time at all for this game. Does it say it there? Oh no, don't look at the middle bit. Don't cheat. Just say where would the replay have been? It wasn't going to be at Wembley. Where do you think the replay might have been? That's another question. So you got the lineup: City, Corrigan, Keegan, Donachie, Doyle, Watson, Oakes, Barnes, Booth, Royal, Hartford, Chewett, and substitute Clements. On for Newcastle: Mike Mahoney, Irving Natras, Alan Kennedy, Stuart Barraclough, Glenn Keeley, Pat Howard, Mickey Burns, Tommy Cassidy, Malcolm McDonald, Super Mac, Alan Gowling, Tommy Craig, and Paul Cannell. And their manager was Gordon Lee, if you remember Gordon Lee. Yeah, I mean, the City's path to Wembley there, just touch the point there, and don't cheat and look at it. But we had the second round, obviously it's always two-legged, isn't it? But we actually drew both games in the second round. There's no away goals at that time. We drew 1-1 and 2-2. So we had a second replay against Norwich City in the second round. So we had a second replay. And it was quite unusual. Where was that replay? Can you remember where that replay was played? We did win it. I'll give you the score in a minute. But can you remember what ground it was played at? That was quite unusual. I mean, I've been to a couple of League Cup, second replays at Old Trafford over the years. But can you remember where that one was? The year we obviously won this League Cup. And obviously at the back of the programme you've got these wonderful things, you used to be able to get obviously you used to get the films, didn't you? The cine films, 8mm cine films, but you used to be able to get the records as well. And my lad currently has my copy of the 1976 League Cup record, so he's got that. And it's last time I saw it, it was on a shelf over his door, but obviously I hope he's looking after it because it is mine. In case he forgets, he's got the 1976 Newcastle record. Of course, we won, didn't we? Goals from Barnes scored at the City fans, and where we were the City fans. Newcastle did equalise on 35 minutes. Barnes scored in 11 minutes. Newcastle on 35, and of course a wonderful Stewart overhead kick at the beginning of the second half, in about the 47th minute, and I had a bit of trouble that day. I broke my glasses, so from the other end, as you can imagine, we're at the tunnel end, and Stewart scored at the other end, didn't he? Obviously the opposite end, and I think it was a couple of days before I even knew he'd done an overhead kick. I thought he'd done a diving header because my eyes weren't very good. So I did sort of miss what was going up the other end of the pitch. I saw Peter Barnes' goal quite clearly, but so yeah, I think it was a couple of days before I realised. Well, it was the next day I looked at the papers and saw the overhead kick, obviously, but I thought he'd done a diving header, which was quite interesting. So yeah, a good victory against Newcastle. Coming out of the ground, I did arrange to meet my friends, and I was hanging around for a while, but I think they forgot about me, so I ended up walking myself, and I got a little bit lost. I thought I'd be clever and go a different way than follow the crowds, obviously back to Wembley Tube Station. So I actually ended up at Kingsbury. If you know Kingsbury Tube Station, I actually walked all the way to Kingsbury. I don't know how far it is from Wembley, so that's where I ended up, at their tube station. As I walked down the stairs to Kingsbury, there's 5 lads that I knew just other City fans I hadn't been with. But one of them was one of my I used to go to a lot of the away games with. A couple of years previously, I started to go to away games with him, and I just happened to meet up with him. And 4 other lads, so at least I felt a little bit, and we went back to Euston, at least I didn't feel as lonely, but obviously I met up with different mates, which was quite unusual, because I say Kingsbury Tube, I don't even remember many people being on it, it was literally dead quiet, it was just really quiet, and just walking down the tunnel, I went down the steps, and these lads were hanging around. Oh God, it's the 70s. You're always a bit wary, and then I recognised my best mate and with some other guys. So it all ended up pretty well at the end of the day, and I got home quite safely. Yeah. So Newcastle. They obviously, just going back to them questions, the last time we played in the cup final, of course, was 1954-55, and they won that 3-1, didn't they? So this was a little bit of revenge for us, wasn't it, against Newcastle? So that was really good. The big name player Tony Butt let go that season, 75-76, was Rodney Marsh, of course. He let Rodney Marsh go that season, who probably stayed 2 or 3 seasons more than he thought he would at one stage, but that's another story, isn't it? And the player I pointed out, you might have seen his name, you might have cheated, but it's obviously Kenny Clements, but I just remember him with the moustache. It's just so unusual to see him without the moustache. Absolutely amazing. Joe Corrigan there, Willie Donachie. You know all those guys, don't you? Sure, I don't have to name those guys. All very well known faces, obviously. And the person scoring the goal, of course, and he was in the team for the final as well. He was playing, was of course Jed Keegan. That's Jed Keegan in his first cup game, scoring a goal for City in the 4-0 win over Middlesbrough in the second leg of the semi-final. And the replay, there was a replay. There was no penalties for this, so it would no penalties. I don't think we had them in those days anyway. Did they? You forget, don't you? But there's no extra time. But if there had been a replay, it would have been back at Hillsborough the following Wednesday. So it would have been a match at Hillsborough, which would have been interesting. And the game against Norwich, of course, the second replay. We won 6-1, of course. Was at Stamford Bridge, so I did know the crowd for that. It wasn't a massive crowd, I don't think. It was about 12,000 or something, or it could have even been 6,000. I'll have to look that one up. I should have looked that one up, shouldn't I? But my memory's telling me it could have been 6,000. But if you went to that, I didn't go down to that one, but that would have been interesting, wouldn't it? What sort of following made up the few thousand that were there, sort of thing. So that was Stamford Bridge. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little moment in time. A little bit of my personal memories thrown in as well, which I'll try and do on these moments in time if I can. Obviously, if I remember specific things, and there'll be lots of these coming up over, obviously, the coming months, etc. And obviously, that's 28th of February 1976, City's moment in time. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments what you think anyway. Please, for all the latest City news, you can follow me on Twitter at Charles Dineen, Dineen spelled DINNEN, or at nostalgia_movie, which is more in line with my little movie and TV drama vlogs, but both accounts are linked together, so you can follow me on both or either, it doesn't really matter. And I try to follow everyone back, so if you follow me and you need a follower, I'll follow back, that's no problem. I'm on Facebook at Birdeneen with links to moviegamenostalgia.com, my little website for old and rare DVDs, movie posters from the 1990s and 2000s, and some older board games as well on there. So you can spare me a couple of minutes to have a look at moviegamenostalgia.com. Very much appreciated. All the links are below, etc. in the various playlists, etc. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you were there at Wembley, have you any specific memories? As I said, I was a little bit wary. As I say, I got stuck in with a few Newcastle fans. Didn't see any real trouble. But as I say, it wasn't. I think it was called a friendly final, wasn't it? But I'm sure there were elements of trouble. They're not that we weren't the most friendliest of supporters, Newcastle and City. We had no real love between us, and it was the 70s, so I'm sure there was a bit of trouble. You may have got in trouble yourself, but fortunately I was okay, even though I got stuck on my own a little bit wary, which you had to be in those days. Anyway, thanks for watching. Whatever you're going to do the rest of your day, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. More importantly, let's look after each other. And hopefully you can join me again for something very similar very soon. This is Burden saying goodbye for now. Thanks for watching.